Welcome to the Your Talent Matters podcast, where we delve into the world of human resources and employee benefits in Canada. Join hosts Mehdi Rahman, a strategic human resources consultant, and Nick Godfrey, a seasoned employee benefits advisor, as they explore the many challenges that businesses face in attracting, developing, and engaging top talent. So sit back, relax, and learn from the experts on how your talent matters when it comes to growing a business.
Hi, and welcome to Your Talent Matters. I'm Nick Godfrey. I'm the Employee Benefits Specialist, and I'm happy to have my friend Mehdi along today. Go ahead, Mehdi.
Cool. My name is Mehdi Rahman. Everyone calls me Mehdi, and I've been in HR for the last 25 years, working for some of the most iconic organizations. And I want to share some of the best practices that they have so that, medium businesses that are aspiring can learn and grow and do some amazing things and make Canada win.
Excellent. And today, this was Mehdi's great topic. He's saying the importance of a strong employer brand in the war for talent. And having heard the term brand, it goes from company brand to personal brand. I had to go and have a look at our friend Chat GPT and throw that in and talk about, okay, so what is employer brand? So I'm gonna read you what the AI says. So employer brand refers to the reputation and perception that an organization has among its current employees, potential employees, and the wider public as a place to work. It represents the collective perceptions, beliefs, and feelings that people have about an organization as an employer. Employer brand encompasses a wide range of factors, including a company's culture, values, leadership, work environment, employee benefits, that's me, career development, opportunities, and overall employee experience. It's shaped by the company's actions, policies, communications with employees, job candidates, and the public. And having a strong employer brand is essential for attracting and retaining top talent, as it can make the company more attractive to potential employees and improve employee engagement and satisfaction. A strong employer brand can also help a company differentiate itself from competitors and create a positive image in the eyes of the public. That's a mouthful.
Yeah,
That's what we're talking about.
And like if I was an employer, and as I'm an employer, that it makes me very, very overwhelmed, because I'm like, oh my God, like I have to do that plus take care of my customers plus do all this. It's way too much.
Well, it's quite the checklist.
Yeah, but it's not as complex as ChatGPT made it sound. It really isn't. In all the organizations that I've been at, and then even looking at the organizations that I'm currently supporting, last week we talked about how there are so many jobs out there, and there's a war for talent and good talent. And so, today, if we're thinking about if I have a posting or if I have a job opportunity, how do I stand out in this market? The employer brand is important. I think, when you talk about the different words of brand, like personal brand and all those other types of brands, the first thing is knowing yourself. And as an employer, I think step one is understanding who I am as an employer, right? Like, what do I offer? What's unique about me? Or what am I really proud of, right? And again, at McDonald's, an organization like McDonald's, a lot of people are like, well, you're flipping burgers. Like, what could you really be proud of? Well, there's a lot of amazing things that we were proud of at McDonald's. When I was looking over national staffing, we created an employer branding campaign called Ça c'est pour moi, or worksforme.ca. And there we understood our population, so the two types of employees that we had. And for the parents that worked at McDonald's, we offered, our employer brand was really about offering benefits, offering flexible schedules, and opportunities for advancement. A lot of those things are free, right? Like, they're not very expensive programs, But that was a reason why a lot of Canadians chose to work for McDonald's Canada as a parent. And then, a lot of the youth, what they were looking for were flexible schedules, discounts off of food, right? Tuition reimbursement or some sort of scholarship program. And it wasn't too complex. Based on that, we were able to really stand out as an employer, even in markets like, Alberta at that time, where there was like, shortages of employees. So it doesn't have to be this massive initiative. It's just like looking at yourself, know thyself, and the heavens and the universe open up to you. Know yourself and know what you can offer and start communicating that.
Well, when you speak of McDonald's now, clearly that's a huge brand. But what if you're a smaller organization and you're growing, you're 30 to, that kind of target, 30 to 70 employees. You're thinking, man, are we big enough to have a brand?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's probably even, it's, I don't know if the word is called, it's an actual word, funner, but it's like, it's much more fun as a startup or as a medium-sized enterprise, because there is an intimacy and there's an ability to be able to deliver on your brand, right? And at McDonald's, it's hard. You could say something in an advertisement, but then to actually deliver that on every single 1,400 restaurants, that's hard. As a smaller employer or as an aspiring employer, if I say that, like at one of my companies, it was really about, we love winning. We love winning awards. We love winning, local contests, right? So it was about a winning culture. It was about an opportunity to make impact. We were working with youth there, so it was an opportunity to, make people smile, right? And so it was about that. And then also, you're going to learn, you're going to grow. We don't have a lot of resources. We're a scrappy startup, and so you're going to learn and grow here. And we were picking off employees from other organizations that were saying, I'm with this big faceless organization. I'm not learning anymore. I'm not growing anymore. I don't have this. They don't have an attitude of winning anymore. I want to leave that, and I'm going to go to this other employer that pays relatively the same, but it's a more familial environment, right? So, I think you use the word culture, and it's a real part of that culture. So, yeah, I think it's easier in many ways, but again, it goes back to the reflective activity of like, who am I as an employer? What can I offer?
Well, I think of smaller companies thinking about what it is they can do locally. Whether it's within the community, for example, you know, planting trees. As you know, I'm a nature nut, so you think, and I'm involved with our local Oakville Green organization, and they're really good at getting folks out and planting trees, and that could be, a corporate identity. You say,
Absolutely.
we're here's, you know, we love the environment. Come work with us.
And now that the stats are more clear about that, where organizations that are about, some people call it the triple bottom line, where it's like doing good and making money or being profitable, or sustainability, right? Like, how am I making the world a better place? Is it through education? Is it through donations? Is it through volunteerism? Again, like, not costly programs, but something to have a point of view on. I remember when I was younger, working for some of these bigger organizations, we would not have political stands on anything, right? We would organizations would ask for donations, or some sort of support, but they would be affiliated with a point of view, a lifestyle, or anything like that. And as an employer, we would be like, no, like, we don't take a stand because we don't want to polarize ourselves.
Yeah.
Now you have to have a political stand, and you have to, and you should, and that's also part of your employer brand, and it's also an attraction strategy, for a lot of folks, because they want to understand what is their impact on their, as a global citizen of being a part of this organization. So, having these ties to your local community, to the environment, to sustainability. These are all very, very important things. Quick switches that you could turn on in your organization and have a point of view on. And stand behind and separate yourself from other employers.
Yeah, I think that, and that's, it's funny. I was having a coffee with one of my suppliers today, and we are talking about, how important it is to stand out and how to be different. And that's why you and I are together, because that makes us different, right?
Absolutely,
We're
absolutely.
providing a different level of service than the average bear. And I think that's really what other employers need to do is kind of go, and then communicate that. We're
Yeah,
different, and here's how.
yeah, yeah. And there's
Yeah.
so many good vehicles to communicate that, you're going to start seeing this theme throughout our show and podcast about, like, if you are a large organization or a leader of enterprise, an individual or a manager of others, but communicating who we are, what our identity is, how we stand out, and how we separate ourselves. Places like Glassdoor, our website, Facebook, the employee experience, having employees being ambassadors, through their own social channels. These are all ways that we could totally stand out and communicate that. It doesn't have to be this fancy, presentation that a media agency puts together for you, right? It's not a costly program. It does. You could just start as, with an employee survey asking how to, more than a paycheck, like why do you work here more than outside of the paycheck, and you'll get some really cool fun answers.
You might get some you don't like, but that's okay too,
That's
right?
okay.
You
Yeah.
need the information. It's funny when you mention Glassdoor, because I have spent some time on there, doing research, looking at companies, hoping, frankly, looking for companies with problems, because
We can
that's what
help.
we do. We
Yeah.
can help. We help solve problems, and it is interesting when you go through them. You can really tell the good ones from the bad ones, because the really proactive companies that are really concerned about their employer brand are on Glassdoor, and answering and responding to people when they give them a lousy review, or the CEOs there, and the ratings, and you can tell it's an active little site, because it's funny, when we do talk about surveys, the one of the questions always is it really anonymous? Like, can they track it? So certainly something like Glassdoor's got to be anonymous. So it's
Yeah.
got to, out of the mouths of babes, it's got to be true. So
Yeah, I mean, the anonymity is extremely important. And organizations, like, if I get a bad review, um you know it's not about finding out who said it. It's about, like, really
what
listening.
happened?
Yeah, like, listening, and, like, there, even if there's an ounce of truth to it, there's something there that we can get better at. I mean, I in the second half of my career, I loved taking on crappy companies. Like, the one of the organizations in the later stage of my career, I was like, I went in and the Glassdoor ratings were horrific. Like, I mean, the worst. And so my friends were like, how are you leaving these iconic organizations and going there? And for me, it was like, well, if we could take 10 of these themes and address them in the first year, like, that's low hanging fruit, right? Like, you can really make a difference. And sure enough, we did. Like, we just, listened to our employees, and just said, we're going to do a couple things really, really well and address them. The other thing that I really learned through that, and I think all other, organizations, as they set out to separate themselves from other organizations as an employer of choice, thinking about, um, and being purposeful, not to just mask problems. Like, it's one thing that you could put lipstick on a pig and start talking about, oh my God, yeah, we're a great employer. Employees will see right through it. That's where your 90-day turnover goes, because they're like, wait a second, you said this on your website. You spent like another $20,000 on updating your website, doing this fantastic marketing campaign, but still at the end of the day, you treat people crappy. They'll see through that. 90 days later, they'll be gone. A year later, they'll be gone. So you'll still have the same problem. So there, what you don't want to do is create a dissonance between what's actually happening and then what you're projecting and portraying out there. You want to make sure it is, authentic, right? That's what the word authenticity is what's going on digitally is matching what's going on analog.
And maybe don't try to do too much too early and too fast, and yeah, just do
Yeah.
it slowly and do it right.
Yeah. And again, like, like I think of burger joints a lot, right? I helped one startup burger joint, like, and the gentleman, he had one location, and now he has like hundreds of them. And he's like, how am I going to compete with talent? And I was just like, well, like, what are you offering, right? And then he's like, well, my pay is the same, right? The hours are the same, but we're gonna grow, right? And there's opportunities for advancement, and have a pretty good benefits program, and and then and I think that's it. Those are the only two things that he said, right? Like, and we want to compete. Like, I like competitors. I like fierce people, and I'm like, that itself is a brand, right? Like that's simple as that. Like, celebrate that. Go head to head with your competitors.
Yes, I know. I hate to lose. Um,
I like that about
uh,
you.
I like to, well, I'm not going to go down without a fight, put it that way. Um, that's my brand.
I like it. I like
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Nick Godfrey, everyone. That's Nick Godfrey.
That's Nick Godfrey. So like if you were talking about these sorts of things and you've had this experience, I mean, we've got this list that the chat GPT gave us. Do you need to just like if you were to, as a business owner, you'd say, well, gee whiz, I'm not really sure what my employer brand is. Um, what's the first step? What do you do to kind of sit down and revisit the whole thing?
I would ask my employees, my current employees, like, why do you still choose to show up? Outside of money, why do you choose to show up? And they'll say, man, I like working with you. I learn a lot from you. I like the family feel here, right? I like our customers. I like the location. Like, that in itself, you start like understanding, okay, well, these are parts of kind of like the value proposition of what I offer, right? And I think, and then if you don't like that, and you're like, I could be better, I want to be better in a specific area, then be purposeful around that and just say, like, I think to your point earlier, choose one or two things and just say, you're trying to get better at it, and be upfront with, your next applicant. Be upfront with your advertisement. It's a small posting, and the postings don't have to say, just now hiring. The postings could say, open positions, if you like, winning, if you like, benefits, and if you like flexible shifts, or if you like a familial kind of environment, speak to Nick Godfrey or speak to me. And and you'll be surprised. I think so. That's one thing I would do. I would also, the second place I would start, and like, I mean, this is $0 budgeting, really, really simple stuff. Go to the school next door. You may not be hiring youth, then go to the adult school down the street, right? Or go to the local college down the street, or go to the local employment office that are being funded by provincial and federal, right? Like, our taxes are paying for these organizations. Go there, listen to one of the, the agents there about what's going on in the local market, and building these partnerships, and then just telling them your story. That in itself, you could ask them, like, what are you hearing? How am I separate and different from the other folks that are in here? How, you guys are down the street, you're more convenient. A lot of our clients, like, they'll tell you how low the bar is out there. you know you'll separate yourself very, very, very easily, right? So, talking to your employees, local partnerships, relationships, and then, and then go, just being out there, like, putting a posting up, putting a slide, a thing up, like, a little sheet up on your window. Like, it starts there, right? It starts with your referral program, asking employees if they know anybody else and like if they would endorse you, right?
You make a good point there. I was watching a video where one of the best practices they had for finding new employees was to pay rewards to employees for not even, they didn't necessarily have to be successful candidates. They just had to show up and interview, and they paid them $100. And then if they stayed on for 90 days, they paid them another $100 or $200, and they
and it
just,
could be
yeah,
even cheaper than that. Like I would never give a candidate, I would never give an employee $50 to or $100 to bring me a candidate, but I would reward the behavior. Maybe it's a $5 gift card, right, for something, or a coffee or whatever, for sure, or even recognition that Nick brought me 10 candidates last week, and one of them came through, and I paid Nick $150 on his paycheck, right?
yeah.
Like that, thinking about how long, if I keep a role open, how long it takes to fill it, how long it takes to how much onboarding costs an employee, all that. $50 to $150 to $250, like it's actually like really good value add. Even if you were going to pay a recruiter, you'd be paying much more than that.
Oh, absolutely. I just thought it was kind of smart to mobilize the people who already know you, like you, trust you, and are happy working with you, and just say, hey, come on, spread the word.
Yeah, I'll just quick stat, like at Best Buy, when I was working for that organization, we were almost at one point in time, on average, it was about 30% of our employee workforce was referrals. At one point in time, it went up in some markets up to 60% of the employee base were just from referrals, right? And then, and again, these are non-commission employees that are like giving high fives, and having a fun time at work. And then, in other organizations, we would track, and really celebrate, how much we were paying for our the referral program. So really good tactic for us.
Excellent. Well, I think that's a pretty good second episode, Mehdi.
I love it. Yeah,
it's hard to believe. So employer branding is clearly key, and for those who need to revisit it, we'd be happy to talk to them, wouldn't we?
I'd love to. I love this activity. I love it. Activity. It's such a fun one. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think we're gonna sign off for this one. Put it in the can. Number 2.
Number 2. I love it. Can't wait for next week. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Your Talent Matters podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with others. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. For more information or to connect with your hosts, you can visit their website, yourtalentmatters.ca. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.